Amazing people. Now, in some circumstances, we have to find the perimeter of what is called sectors. Now, sectors is where we don't have a full circle. And here's some examples here. Now, when we're doing sectors, we have to do it in a couple of ways. First of all, we have to be able to work out the full distance of a full circle and divide it by the amount of circle that we have. Now, in these examples here, we've got different size parts of a circle where we need to understand the portions that we have. Now, in the first example here, this is going to be the quarter of a circle. In the second example here, what we have is a half of a circle. And in the last example here, what we've got is a third of the circle. Now, in finding the perimeter of each of these, what we're going to have to use is we're going to have to use one of those circle formulas and then multiply it by the fraction that we have. But in addition to that, we need to make sure that we add some extra information. In this case, we need to make sure that we're adding 2 parts of the radius for when we have a quarter of a circle. In the second one here, we need to make sure that we add a diameter onto the end so that we get the full amount of the circle. And then the last one, when we have 3/4 of a circle, we need to make sure we add those 2 radius sectors to include them as well, to make sure we're doing the full distance around the circle. Now you can see here that we've got a couple of examples that we can work through. In the first case here, what we've got is we've got a semicircle, which means we've only got half a circle here. So when we work out the circumference of this, this is going to be equal to 10 because we've got the diameter and we're going to times that by pi. But what we need to do is also multiply it by half because we only have half of a circle. Then in addition to that, we need to make sure that we add on that extra length, which is 10 here. And so what we'll do is we'll get our calculator out. And we're going to type this into our calculator. So it's going to be 10 times pi times 1 over 2. And then we add the extra side length to it. And overall, this is giving us the perimeter, because that's what we're finding here, the perimeter, because we're dealing with more than just the outside of a circle. And it's going to be 25.71 centimeters. Okay, so this is the first example. In the second example now, we're going to do the same thing, except in this case, we're going to do 2 times pi times 4, because we're using the radius here in this sector. In addition to that, we're going to times this by a quarter, because we only have 1/4 of the circle. And then in addition to that, we need to add 2 times 4, because there's 2 lots of those 4 centimeters that we need to add, being this side here and this side here, which we need to add onto it at the end. So now, what we do is we type this into our calculator. So this is going to be 2 times pi times 4 times 1 over 4 plus 2 times 4. And we can see that then this then gives us the perimeter, which is going to be 14.28, rounding it to 2 decimal places, and this is going to be centimeters. Now, lastly, we've got this other circle here, which we have to work with. And this time we've only got 3/4 of a circle. So again, we're using the radius here. So it's going to be 2 times pi times 4, but we've got 3/4 of a circle, which we need to include in this. So we're going to times it by 3 over 4. And then in addition to that, we need to add the 2 radius sectors, being this part here and this part here to include. And so when we do that, that's going to be 2 times 4. So as we type this into our calculators now, this is going to be 2 times pi times 4, 3 over 4, plus 2 times 4, to include all of those parts. 26.85 centimeters.